So the next agenda item is about reaching out, communication, promotion, and outreach for resource management. And I welcome the panel on stage. Hello. So are you Carolina? Yes, I am. You're here in person. Right? Yes, I am. Yes. So since we are a bit running behind on time, I'll ask you to make your interventions on the note and very sharp. So thank you so much for that. And so we're going to discuss in this session aims to discuss and explore strategies to increase awareness and outreach about sustainable resource management, just what the former panel asked us about. So I will start with give the word first to Carolina Coll, who is chair of the EGRM Communications Working Group. And she will be supported, I think, by Walker Darke, who is an EGRM communications consultant on ensuring engagement, update on communication, education, and outreach.
Good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to talk to you. And my brief presentation today is going to be about the activities of the Communication Working Group during 2022-2023. There is also Walker Darke. He is a communication consultant for the EGRM, and he's going to be also talking about the activities specifically for the EGRM. So just a brief description of the membership. I don't expect you to read everything there, but I guess the important thing is that we have a participation of different kind of members. So we have some people which are in the TAC. There are members of working groups. We have a member which is from the Center of Excellence. We have a woman in energy. We have Gabby, you heard from him on the young group. And the idea is that the communication working group is trying to gather, the needs of the different groups in the UNFC, UNRMS in terms of communication. So we're looking, by the way, for 2 new members. So if you are interested, please let us know, and we will be very happy to have your contribution. In terms of the objectives of the communication and education group, as you can see, we have 2 clear objectives: is to spread the word of the UNFC and UNRMS, and also attract experts to the various working groups. And this is very important, specifically because there are quite a lot of activities happening, as you saw during this week, and initiatives. And for that, we need people that can contribute. In terms of the channels and activities, we usually do promotion in conferences and workshops. Webinars have become really important after COVID and during COVID as a way of communicating UNFC, UNRMS, since we couldn't have meetings in person like this one. And then websites, of course, brochures and social media has been one of the key areas. And of course, publications and papers are always very important. In terms of the resource management young member group, which you heard a lot about that, and it was a fantastic session. You can see the potential there for this group to actually participate and contribute in all the things that the expert group is doing. Just some, little information about, a revised terms of reference document was actually submitted. This group actually started in March 2021 when the EGRM approved that, but then now the membership has been expanded to include all young professionals, students, and other communities, environmental activists. So it has a wider remit. And the group is a subgroup of the communication working group for now until they have enough, maturity to actually go solo and fly solo. And I think from what I saw today, they are almost ready. No? And then I think for us, the support is going to be mainly on the communication part. So how we can help them to promote themselves, and also how we can connect and network them into the different working groups in the tag. And I think this is quite important to listen to what they need to say in each of these different groups. In terms of the woman in energy, Christina here, she's out there, and she is part of, she's leading with Maria Angela, this group. And as you can see, this is an example of how the communication works in groups. And they have been so active looking at different ways of communicating with the, with the communities, different communities through webinars, workshops, papers and conferences, articles. So this is a model we're using to try to implement that in other groups in the communication strategy of UNFC, UNRMS. In terms of examples of dissemination and knowledge sharing, of course, the input from the centers of excellence, we heard from Ulises what, he's doing in Mexico. We also heard from the center in Moscow. These are very important centers for dissemination of what we're doing. And we are trying to, support them as much as we can. In terms of China, for instance, there is a lot of activity there. There is a member of the TAC who is in the communication working group. And as you can see in there, they have a lot of events happening all the time. If you are keen to participate in any of these events, please let us know, because they are very, very active, and they really push for the communication of UNFC, UNRMS. Publications and workshops continue to be very important in person. And I need to highlight there that the group, the whole group, expert group, has been publishing something like 90 papers in 2022, which is really good. And I think in terms of papers for 2023, we are around 17 papers. We are expecting, much more contribution from the expert group. So I'll encourage you to really think about, the work that we're doing and how it can be publicized in technical forums. Workshop and webinars are another way of disseminating, and this is something that we encourage and promote. In many of these, we see a combination, as you can see in there, 2 examples in Mexico, 1 in Belgium, and the session that has been happening in this conference. But also, we look at events like these events, which are going to be happening, WPC 24 and WGC 7. If you are interested, let us know. We can always connect you to these events. And as you can see, there can be events where we have workshops and panel sessions. They are very useful. Sometimes we have courses and panel sessions. And these are a way of, broadcasting what is UNFC, UNRMS. You can learn from these models in your own events, so we can always help you to organize, connect with the right people. And the last thing I have here before Walker talks about the things in social media and the website is the uberization of UNRMS, UNFC. This is something which is continue to be a focus of the communication working group. We started this sort of initiative in 2020. Different software companies, they have expressed their interest in trying to do that. We think this is extremely important for the communication of UNFC, UNRMS. We need a tool that can actually give a user, the opportunity to scan through all these guidelines and documents that we have and understand how you compare, for instance, solar with wind, let's say in the economic viability, and how you can really, digest all that information in an easier way. In the commercial working group, it was developed a minimum viable tool for visualization of the UNFC. Matthias, I don't know if he's here today, but he actually was the one responsible for that. He pushed for that in the commercial working group. If you are interested in looking at that, there is a link there. You can access, the presentation he did last year, and we are happy, to try to see if we can find some examples where this can be used. With the young group now, or the youth moving into, our team in the expert group, we can see that this is going to become more and more important to have a digital tool that can be used. And I think with that, I finish. And then if we can connect with Walker, that will be great.
Hello, Charlotte. Hello, Chair. Hello, Carolina. Thank you so much. Apologies for not being there in person today, but congratulations on a wonderful week of progress and presentations. It's a pleasure to work with Carolina and the Communications Working Group, as well as the Sustainable Resource Management team, on communicating the great work that everybody does on Sustainable Resource Management, UNFC, and UNRMS. If we can go show the PowerPoint again, I'm just going to talk through the final few slides, which is the impact we've made over the last year. We've made fantastic efforts on the website, on social media, and some promotional materials. On the website, we've had a huge amount of new pages and new materials that's modernized with the new investment of the project. And as well, we also have a new LinkedIn page, UNECE Sustainable Energy, which I hope you are all already following. If not, why not? I want to know. I hope you click follow today. Then we also have promotional materials that are available on the website. I'll put these in the chat as well, that are wonderful, really glossy one pages on what is the UN framework classification for resources, and then also a cross-resource comparison. If we can go to the next slide, we've made a huge impact digitally and in person with conferences like these. We've had over 15 press releases on UNFC, some executive secretary blogs, and these then generate news articles, over 700 around the world, and in particular, nearly 100 about the UNFC. On social media, we've had over 50,000 views on our posts that have just been on our new LinkedIn page that was launched in August, and then also in person. In the year 2022, we hosted over 40 events. So we're really pushing sustainable resource management at UNECE, and I think it's going rather well. But there's still more to do. If we go to the next slide, let's look to the future. The Communications Subcommittee will carry on working according to the terms of reference to support the development of the vision and the mission statements of the expert group. And with that, it will develop and implement a strategy to attract experts to contribute from all walks of life. In turn, that will support the centers of excellence that we were hearing about earlier this morning, and developing social media outreach activities, promotional materials, including working with the Resource Management Young Members Group, the Women in Resource Management Group, which also have a LinkedIn page, which you should also follow, and promoting and supporting the UN Resource Management System and UNFC Uberization. Thank you very much. Back to you in the room.
Thank you so much, Carolina Walker. And now I would like to invite Claus-Bernhardt Johst, Regional Principal Advisor at GIZ El Salvador, to talk about UNFC digital tool, innovation for assessing and classifying resources.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big pleasure for me to be here with you today. Thank you to Erika. Thank you, Charlotte, Harry, for inviting us. I also would like to say thank you to the experts, Joya Falconi, Bart Davids, and Harman Minlev. They supported us to develop a digital platform. 2 weeks ago, when I started to make this presentation, I was thinking about the title, and I wanted to put in UNFC for Dummies. Then I thought, no, I think it's not a good idea, because the dummy here, it's me and not you. So I changed again the title. I'm learning here. I'm learned a lot this week, and yeah, together with my team, which consists of geologists, a mechanical engineer, and an IT professional, we developed a digital platform to understand in an easy way how to apply UNFC for geothermal projects. Who we are the Geo2 project. We are working in Central America in 8 countries on behalf of the BMZ, the German Ministry of for Economic Collaboration and Development. We've got 4 action areas: regulatory framework, demonstrative projects for direct use of geothermal over there, to develop decision-making instruments like this one, and international professional exchange. So yeah, let's see, what does it mean to have a digital platform? I think this is a graph, or maybe the picture, which you already saw the whole week and almost every second presentation. But what I want to stake out here is it's for everybody, and the adoption is still relatively limited. How I can adopt UNFC, and thank you to Matthias yesterday. This is just the idea how we can work together and make it, I don't want to say popular, but more accessible to the people, to developers, to all the stakeholders who need to work with UNFC. I'm not alone here. I brought also 2 of my partners from the Central American region with me. There's an Elizabeth Enriquez from El Salvador. She's sitting over there. She works for Lageo, geothermal developer in El Salvador. Also Leonardo Solis from the EGRM, another state-owned company which is working with geothermal energy in Costa Rica. So what we can do, we would like to spread the word, would like to team up, we would like to work with our partners, especially with the IGA, the International Geothermal Association, and IRENA, to make more trainings, hopefully with you. Everybody is invited to work together. We have no commercial interest. That is really important to say here. To use a digital platform and to make it more easy to access. Again, I'm an economist. I'm not geologist. I'm not geophysicist, or I didn't study geophysics or chemistry, but I can use this platform. And this is really important, to develop more geothermal projects in this special case. But it's also important to stake out here that you can transfer this kind of digital platform to all the other resources. We heard a lot of the critical resources this week, so it's easy to modify and also to use it for other or in, let's say, in other background. What's the idea? Everything what is written in papers, in manuals, and a lot of paperwork, to have it more accessible, more easy to access, and the famous, I like the expression one-stop shop. You don't have to take more and more papers in consideration. You can do everything online with your computer, and you can bring in all the information you have about your project, and then you can classify it. Just to mention some, let's say, possibilities, what users can do. First, we can define different users, say administrators, editors, or others. I can have only a view of it. Multiple languages. We already translated all the UNFC standards for geothermal in Spanish. So it's English-Spanish at this moment. Hopefully we can have a Russian, a French, maybe a Chinese version as well, Arabic. Everything is possible. You can work with multiple projects. You can geolocate your project and automatically classify and subclassify your project regarding to the UNFC documents. There's an assisted implementation of UNFC based on this decision trees and workflows. And this is for less experienced users like me. I'm not so experienced with this. And of course, we've got the manual implementation of UNFC. This is more for advanced users. Someone who is really, let's say, a highly expert on some geothermal projects, he can use it also manually. You can upload all your support documents. It's also very easy. The platform allows it. And then, automatically create a report. It's a little written here, but it's just an impression for you to show you that you have in a really easy way an overview about your project, the classification, the spiderweb diagram, to see, okay, where can I, or where maybe I have to improve, and where everything is fine. So now, who's a target group with whom we would like to work together? So all the energy authorities. First stage, of course, for us, it's important in Central America. We have got 8 energy secretaries and energy ministries with whom we are working together. So this is our first target group. But of course, what I said, it's an open source digital platform. You can use it with whomever want to work with this platform. Of course, companies and financial institutions. Maybe you have heard about it. For Latin America, we had a 1 billion fund for geothermal projects. And it was not so easy to find the right projects. And of course, you know better than me how to classify it. It is good or not good to invest in a geothermal project in Latin America. So this could be solutions to be more efficient and quicker and take decisions. Evaluators and professionals are invited also to use the platform. And of course, we are teaming up with IRENA, IGA, and others. Again, you are invited to join us for training purposes. We have to spread the word. We have to spread the word about the UNFC. So let me, with 2 more slides to finish, what are the benefits? We can spend the knowledge about UNFC. We've got here a practical assisted method to develop the classification. It's, again, more easy to understand. Approved natural resource management and decision-making processes, especially for in energy activities, especially for the regulatory authorities. And the use of the tool can be extended to all the other energies or other resources. Potential partners, first of all, United Nations. So Matthias, we hope we can team up with you. Banks, energy authorities, political counterparts. We will try to bring it also in other energy projects on the GIZ worldwide, and of course, a technical cooperation from other countries. So to conclude, this platform is designed to facilitate the classification of projects in the energy sector, also could be in other resources, other categories, applying the UNFC. And yeah, we already work together with the expert group here from the UN, to play a little bit without, to find maybe some bugs, where are the problems, but to improve it regularly, and yeah, to have an accessible tool for everybody. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. We're going to listen to another presentation about UNFC digitalization, data quality, security, and blockchain with Milan Poczik from Sinegon Technologies, Hungary.
So thank you. I'm Milan Poczik from Sinegon Technologies, and today I want to introduce you the aspects of digitalization of the UNFC. So the digitalized UNFC should be easy to use, guided, controlled, harmonized, and support decisions and implementation boosting. Now let's see the dimensions of data quality. There are 7 dimensions of the data quality, and let's try to focus on 4: the validity, the fit for purpose, the consistency, and the accuracy. Let's start with fit for purpose. So how well our data meets our business needs. The government, the industry, and the investment sector needs differentiated added data to the basic UNFC data. For example, the industry needs some production metrics, needs some consumption data, needs some financial metrics also. The investment sector needs cost, revenues, financial needs, ratings, and so on. So we need to differentiate all this data added to the basic UNFC data, what we already have and what we already knew. For example, for the financial institutes, the sustainable financing portfolios are boosting, and the UNFC can be a very great tool to assess the finance projects and also to life cycle track these projects during the finance. So let's see the data validity and consistency. Is our data in a specific format? Does it follow the business rules and standards what we have? To ensure this, we need guidance, education, and information, mappings, and a UI and a UX, which can ensure the structured data input, and then we can avoid the data wrangling later. On digitalized UNFC level, the users need to reach the UNFC documentation differentiated to all commodity. Only the valid combination of the categories and subcategories need to be allowed, and to include in-app mappings like ClearScope, Inspire codes, TRL, and so on. So how we address this in a solution? You can see the guided reporting of our system. You can see that only the valid combinations can be selected. Also, there are a little information buttons there where you can, the user, reach the UNFC descriptions, and it is for every commodity differentiated in our system. This is, for example, for minerals, and you can see the little ClearScope mappings hub in the system. Let's see the data accuracy, that how well does our data information reflects the reality. So to achieve this, we need control, guided decision-making, attached document repository, and also automated data gathering if possible. On the UNFC level, at the classification, we need to control at a given project what type of category it can be at maximum. We need a control framework. It can be tailored because different countries, industries, regions have different authorities, policies, and so on and so on. So we need also a comprehensive data repository to the documents, technical data, maps, competent person reports, and evaluated documentation. How we address this? you can see our control framework that on E and F axis, we just added some data from the EU guidance, and you can see that the user picked up the control factors, and the system is saying that, okay, the project goal is E1, but you only can have at this moment E3.2. And also you can see the document repository and reports and audit logs there. So all the documentation can be attached to the reports there. And let's see the blockchain. We heard so much about blockchain nowadays. I just wanted to place that friend or foe. It can be both. If we use it right, then it's a friend definitely. For example, supply chain tracking, or the guarantee of origins, or licensing. And it can achieve greater security also because it is distributed and immutable records coming after the consensus is made by the nodes of the network. But there are some questions about this. So what about the governance of a given network or hostile takeovers if we're doing it in a security point of view? How to migrate the data we already have? And what about the storage of private data? And what about the data is a big amount of images or maps? It can easily overload any currently known distributed network in the IT world. So how can we address these? We need a transparent solution for this, and keeping the data off the chain and only anchoring these data. Then we can say a regular database row is completely secure and intact, but the data is still at the government's authorities or hospitals. So we have the control of the data, but we secured it with the blockchain. So we avoided the cons of these blockchain things. So last slide is just an example data stream. You can see that companies and government authorities using digitalized solution. They are using different modules, but there is an easy data flow with the agreed data, because industries, I think, don't need to push all the data to the government. It's an agreed and required data what need to be pushed. So when a company is already assessing their projects and categorizing and classifying in UNFC, then they can push only the data what they need to the government, of course. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Milan, for sharing your work with us. Now we're going to the collaboration with other organizations. And first one up is World Petroleum Council and Piers Riemer, Director General.
Thank you. Thank you. And good afternoon, everybody. I think you only have to look around at what's happened this week and around the room to see how useful collaboration is with other organizations. And although remote working has been really useful in recent years, it's really nice to get back to face-to-face meetings. Before I start, I ought to mention a great contributor to this group and to the WPC family, Anatoly Zolotukin from Gubkin University, who sadly passed away last year after a long illness, and he'll be greatly missed by all of us. So briefly, the World Petroleum Council was set up in the United Kingdom in 1933 to promote the use of oil and gas for the benefit of all. Almost, I say almost, a statement of sustainability back in 1933. We were set up in a neutral and not-for-profit and non-political capacity. We're here to help and to promote what everybody's doing, and we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We always cooperate with people where we can, and we regularly organize one of the largest energy congresses and exhibitions in the world, and all profits go into an educational legacy in the country where we've organized the event. So we always leave something behind. And we also always have high-level sessions devoted to UNECE and UNFC work and other UN bodies at all the big international meetings that we organize. Everything we do with our 60 member countries is collaboration and cooperation in a non-political environment. On a topic most relevant here, WPC originally set up a working group in the early 80s and produced our first petroleum or hydrocarbons and reserves and resources interim report in 1983. And we finalized that by the end of the 80s, and SPE were also producing similar work at the same time. We agreed we should cooperate. We agreed nomenclature with SPE and WPC, and those were adopted in 1997. And we then joined forces with AAPG. I'm sorry about all the acronyms, but I think you know them all. We then joined forces with AAPG, and by 2000 we had the WPC, SPE, AAPG, EAGE joint definitions. And those are harmonized here at the UN in 2003. And the most significant effort since then has been the UN framework classification, the UNFC for mineral and petroleum resources. This was adopted in July 2004 and has harmonized all the work that we did up to 2000 and expanded it incredibly. And in 2007, the latest version was agreed by all, and then we had the 2007 Petroleum Resource Management System sharing the vision. So one important aspect of us as associations working together is we represent most of the industry. Just WPC's membership represents over 95% of the world's oil and gas production and consumption. We're also neutral, which is why, as an example, we were able to visit the Securities and Exchange Commission in Washington and tell them how daft they were. Daft because most companies were having to keep two sets of books related to reserves and resources, one on SEC rules and more accurate set based on the work done here. No company on its own would dare or be able to approach the SEC as we did. We were obviously a bit more diplomatic than I suggested. We didn't call them daft to their faces, but the visit of SPE, WPC and AAPG meant that the SEC hired a petroleum geologist and updated their systems, and also then expanded their own definitions to cover non-conventional oil, oil sands, bitumen, shale, coal bed methane, and EOR. We also collaborate with others all the time on major issues. I was at COP1 promoting carbon capture and storage. In fact, that's such a long time ago, I was calling it carbon dioxide disposal then. We also work on methane emission reduction, and in particular in Africa and the World Bank and oil companies from COP2 onwards on methane. We also work with our members on projects related to energy poverty and health, particularly in India and Africa. And we have unique environmental considerations to look after on those projects. We have lots of ongoing activities within WPC. The project here on reserves and resources is long-term, but we also cover short-term activities for our member countries and companies as part of our collaboration. And being able to demonstrate best practice. We don't go to countries and tell them what to do, but we can go to countries and tell them what best practice is being used in other parts of the world. Currently, we are looking at net zero ambitions and the technical solutions and technologies available to us. So we obviously look at the costs and effects of decarbonisation, but we also realise that it's not good just swapping one problem for another and the unintended consequences that can occur. So again, we look at the real cost of all their options and their wastes that have to be included when comparing technologies. We also have major joint activities ongoing with young people. We have an international group of young professionals representing all of our 60 member countries, and they contribute to all of our activities. And we also have, as part of a cooperation with that group, a universities programme, which is being organised by the British University in Almaty, Gubkin University, Calgary, Heriot Watt and Aberdeen for student exchange and technology exchange. And we also, again, because of issues in the industry of a lack of inclusion and gender representation, we have a large gender survey, which we've been carrying out with the Boston Consulting Group for over 12 years now. We are also never on our own. We are always in cooperation with others. There are lots of other acronyms that you might not be aware of, IOGP, IPCA, ARPEL from different parts of the world who we cooperate with all the time and always for the benefit of all. And we always, and as you showed in your presentation earlier, we'll be representing UNFC and UNECE in Calgary at our next event in September with a workshop and a high-level session in front of everybody to promote the work that all of you carry on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, important work going on. Now I think we're going to have Marit online. Is that so? No?
She can no longer join us.
She could no longer join us. Thank you. So we'll move on to Mercè and talking to us from ISO.
Hello, and thank you very much for inviting ISO to give you an overview of what we are doing on critical minerals. So ISO is basically a platform, a forum for discussion where the experts and the countries come to agree by consensus on what on the content, on the final content of what we will finally publish as voluntary international standards. So we are a global network of currently 168 member countries, a substantial portfolio of standards that we have developed. We are coordinated by the Central Secretariat, which is based here in Geneva. And the technical work where the experts meet is decentralized. It happens in over 300 technical committees, and then subdivided in subcommittees and working groups, each addressing a specific topic. So what do we have in terms of metals and minerals? Okay, so since the 1940s, ISO has been establishing technical committees to work on metals and minerals, and you have here a subset, a list of some of those technical committees. Worth mentioning the two last that were established in 2015 and 2020 about rare earth and lithium, for obvious reasons, yeah. What do these committees do? Essentially, they establish chemical analysis methods for the determination of elements content, which are very important in arbitration testing between suppliers and purchasers. But they also work on vocabularies, classification, code designation, delivery, or other topics. This is typically the typical subjects that we have been dealing with and that we have covering for decades. Now, over the past years, of course, there is a need to add another dimension to other work. Now we have to talk and we have to think and develop standards also that consider sustainability, traceability. We have to look at the full supply chain. These are topics that, contrary to the test methods I was talking before, that are specific to the various elements, these are material agnostic topics that they go across several metals and minerals. We have a number of technical committees that address these topics as well, and worth mentioning, for example, the sustainable mining and mine closure, or our generic committee to address environmental management topics, 207, or the recently established chain of custody or circular economy. So what we have now in ISO is this number of specific committees that consider specific elements that have a kind of a vertical dimension, developing essentially test methods that for the particular elements. And we have an horizontal dimension of these cross-cutting subjects by other committees. Also lithium and rare earths are addressing aspects of traceability and sustainability as well. And on top of this complexity, we have also now the notion of criticality that applies to most of those metals and minerals due to the need to decarbonize our economies, to look at the specialized technologies where these metals and elements appear to be essential and critical. So in ISO, in March 2021, we decided to establish a strategic advisory group on critical minerals to really try to look at what we're doing, what work we were conducting so far, what potential ISO work could further conduct and develop in the field of critical minerals. Essentially, in the end, is just to organize, to see how we can organize the ISO work on this. See if, noting the amount of documents that we have regarding chemical analysis techniques, if we could derive some kind of common guidance, a kind of models to harmonize the work that we are doing in this field. What would be the market need for standards on sustainability issues? Noting that there is a lot of volume of projects regarding sustainability, tools regarding sustainability that exist already. And then we were wondering also if there would be merit for ISO to develop a kind of an overarching guidance, just an informative document for the benefit of the participants in the critical mineral supply chain. That was the mandate of this strategic advisory group. So the main pieces of work that this group conducted was, of course, first of all, an analysis of what we have so far in terms of committees and international standards that cover critical minerals. And we conducted a gap analysis. This allowed us to see that the ICP and XRF methods are the most commonly used test methods for metals and minerals. And we finally also, so we further looked at those specific standards. We have over 400 standards with that kind of chemical methods, and we wanted to see if they could be derived a kind of a model or a template that could be used to further develop work on these chemical methods to harmonize our portfolio. And we conducted a global survey on market needs and priorities. We wanted to know what is it that the world needs and where can we contribute to provide something useful. We looked at what could be the priority minerals that ISO is not yet working on and that perhaps we should embark. If we wanted to test our assumption that ICP and XRF methods seem to be the most commonly used, whether is this really true, what the world thinks about it, and is there other chemical analysis techniques that we should be looking at? We wanted to see what is the familiarity of the existing sustainability tools developed outside of ISO, to see what could be the place for ISO to develop something complementary, potentially. And we wanted to see if the usefulness of, as I was saying, to develop a kind of a nice overarching guidance for the participants in the critical mineral supply chain. So these were the main findings of the group. We found out that the minerals that ISO should focus on, that it's not ready covering, would be cobalt, chromium, graphite, and antimony. We were able to identify 10 selected standards, which for their quality could serve as models for further developing test methods for ICP, XRF, for other minerals that we would be covering. We found out that we could put in place some kind of mechanisms that would help us consolidate and coordinate all the efforts that we are doing across the many technical committees and working groups. We found out that it would be interesting for ISO to develop a generic traceability model that would be applicable across a range of minerals and not specific to one single metal or mineral. We saw that we confirmed that there would be a need for an overarching informative guidance on the critical mineral supply chain. This would be basically a very informative document just to describe what is there, what is available in terms, for example, of chemical analysis techniques and where, when to use those, in what context, for what purposes, with a description of what are the traceability frameworks that exist, the sustainability tools that exist already outside of ISO, with guidance perhaps for use about all these tools. And finally, what we find out is that it's very important that we strengthen collaboration with partners, and notably for all what relates to the sustainability matters. In parallel to these activities that were conducted by this strategic advisory group on critical minerals, we have had two very recent initiatives. One is a proposal from France that ISO establish a new technical committee on specialty minerals and metals. This proposal is currently open for consultation by the national standard bodies, and it would focus on chemical analysis, just as the committees I was mentioning earlier. And the idea would be to cover precisely those minerals that we are not currently covering. And yesterday you saw a presentation at this forum about a possible ISO standard on sustainable raw materials. So this is another proposal that we are waiting. It should be imminent. And the purpose of this, for develop a standard on this topic, it would focus on mineral raw materials, and it would cover the whole supply chain of critical minerals. So what's going to be next? The Technical Management Board is the board in ISO that oversees all the technical development of the organization. They will have their next meeting in June, and they will have on the table the final report of the Strategic Advisory Group on Critical Minerals, with all the findings that I described, which have been translated into a set of 7 very specific recommendations. We will have available these 2 recent initiatives that I mentioned from France and Germany. The one from France, the consultation in ISO will be closed so that we will know what is the reaction of the member bodies respect to this proposal. And the German proposal will be ongoing for consultation, but so we will be able to see what is the proposal exactly, what's the scope of this proposal. And based on all this, the Technical Management Board should be able to make decisions about how ISO should organize its work in terms of projects that we should prioritize, in terms of the structure that we should maybe review in ISO. And we should also try to, very important, explore opportunities for cooperation with partners, just that we join efforts and we collaborate and cooperate, in particular for what relates to sustainability. And so regarding cooperation, I just wanted to mention, to conclude it, I think it's very important also that we cooperate at the level of on the technical arena between the working groups, the technical committees. And just to mention a mechanism that we have in ISO, which is establishing liaisons with the external organizations. Committees liaise with external organizations. We have two categories of such liaisons. A liaison B will ensure a bidirectional flow of communication information between the ISO committee and the external partner, the external organization. And the category A would allow the organization to take an active part to the ISO work by appointing experts to the working groups, by commenting on all the subsequent draft when we build consensus on the content of the standards. They can lead projects and they can submit proposals for standardization as well. And just to mention that UNECE, for example, is currently in a liaison with 41 committees and in B liaison with 27 ISO committees. And if there is interest to further explore possibilities for cooperation, let us know, and we would certainly be honored to pursue and continue establishing efficient liaisons. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this important work with us. I think we'll have time for one question from the room. If there is one. Or we could take something from the chat.
Thank you very much. I'd like to extend my sincere thanks for all the panels this morning. It's really been a fantastic morning. So thank you to you all. So there've been, do look at the chats, there's been a lot of positive support, including for the youth panel. And so for this session, so Sulamit Kastel from BGR, but she's based in Central America. I forget the country. She says it's important to mention that UNFC in Central America was applied to a couple of projects through a regional working group, GTG, an advisory panel for the Energy Ministers Council of the SICA region. The digital tool that was presented will not be able to replace the needed multi-professional expertise within the UNFC community, but it can be a tool to help the expert groups through the process. I think it's important to underline that. So thank you, Sulamit. And then others were very supportive of the presentations. Then there's a question on the Sinegon solution. So is the Sinegon solution, is it applicable for all commodities? So it seems to look like a unique solution for UNFC digitalization for all commodities. I don't know if you want to respond to that.
Yes, thank you. So it is at the moment, so we have differentiated commodities. It is completely by the administrator can set up the commodities, and the sub-commodities we also have because of the production report. We have a pilot project for a dolomite mine, for example, and they are already set up the sub-commodities of the fractions, and the production data is coming from the scales, for example. So yeah, we are differentiated everything to commodities. Thank you.
So thank you. There, oh, yes. Yes, please go on.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
I heard very nice presentation of Mr. Host about creating digital platform. And our expert group, I think everybody knows that the company is creating a digital twin of plant, of mining. So this is at the first stage. So can we, our expert group, must think about resource digital twin. At least, so it will be like simulation, and at the same time it will be very easy, and for education it will be very useful. And to think about the framework about digital twin for resource.
Do I have anyone on the panel who would like to take that? Carolina?
Yeah, I can make a comment about that. I mean, in the oil and gas, as you know, we have resource classification systems that can be connected, like databases which do classification, and then they are connected to some of the modeling software that you use. So you are creating a sort of digital twin, no? I think, you know, this is like a dream, no? If that can happen, considering all the commodities that we're looking at in here. So I think we need to probably do step by step before we can reach that level. But this is a good, you know, final objective. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it would take a lot of resources to do that. So I would like to thank. Oh, last question, because we're running out of time. Please go ahead.
This is a question for ISO. You have the TC82 SC7 sustainable mining and mine closure. Do these two entities separate the sustainable mining from the mine closure, or are these two considered together?
Yes, they will be handled together by this subcommittee. I must say that this is a recent change. So TC82 is mining. And in 2013, it established a committee, subcommittee 7, dealing with mine closure and reclamation. So the purpose was to address all the sustainability issues in mining, but with an objective of the closure of the mine. And recently we found that there was some kind of discomfort because it was not clear if it could address all the sustainability aspects in mining for the whole mine life cycle. And so they have just now adjusted the title and the scope, and it has now been approved to be sustainable mining and mine closure. And they will address, so the idea is to really cover the whole life cycle of the mine. Yeah, and in particular for the ESG aspects of sustainability in mining. Thank you.